Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. This is your host, Gianni. It's great to be back with you on this Friday evening. I'm joined this week by the one and only Ray Merriman. Ray, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Gianni. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you as always, and I know everyone's happy to see you join me this week. So the timing of this video is very good because we had yet another turbulent week in many markets, not just stocks, but also in currencies and in commodities and in metals. So we have a lot to talk about today. We had a lot of really potent geocosmic signatures, a lot of aspects between the sun and Venus, since they're in that tight Cazimi conjunction. We had a trine with the sun and Mars, Venus trined Mars, the sun squared Pluto, Venus squared Pluto, and then we're coming up on that conjunction with the sun and Venus as well this weekend. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we can start off by talking about the Dow Jones. We started off by gapping up on the week. We were rallying pretty strongly, faded a little bit, but ended the week on a very positive note. So that's looking pretty good. Ray, what is your thoughts on the Dow Jones?
Well, I like this chart because it gives credence to the idea that we had a primary cycle bottom with that double bottom September 30th and October 13th. And now we've taken out the high in between there. That's a good sign that we got a primary bottom. What concerns me a little bit is the fact that the S&P and the NASDAQ did not make new highs. They did not take out that high in between those two lows. Only the Dow has. So that's the case of intermarket bearish divergence. And we are in a two-star critical reversal date. It was October 17th, but we can extend that actually to Monday or Tuesday because we got Saturn retrograde or Saturn direct coming up this weekend. As you mentioned, Sun and Venus are leaving Libra, going into Scorpio, and they're going to conjoin. And you've got the solar eclipse coming up on Tuesday. So solar eclipses are oftentimes secondary highs. Sometimes they're the actual high, but a lot of times they're just secondary highs. They have a bias toward highs as opposed to lows. But it's not a big bias. I mean, it's like 52% versus 48% when you go back and look in the history of the market. So I'm concerned that we're in a reversal zone. We're getting intermarket divergence. One market made a high in it, the NASDAQ and the S&P actually, and the other market, the Dow, is making a higher high as we get to the end of this reversal zone, which is Saturn directing the solar eclipse.
Well, that's terrific insight and definitely something to take away as we go into next week. Next week is the last full trading week of October. We've heard the phrase October surprises, markets notorious for experiencing crashes, but also even bottoming in the month of October. So it's one of those interesting months, when you're between the signs of Libra, the balancing of the scales, and Scorpio, kind of like the deep elements of market psychology. But the next chart I want to look at here is the 10-year Treasury note, made a new multi-year high on Friday, but pulled back into the close a little bit. This came off the back of the Fed dropping some hints that they may be slowing the pace of rate hikes. Stocks like the news, obviously, and this could be a little bit of a respite for stock markets in the next couple of weeks here. But obviously, interest rates have been moving higher because inflation has been at multi-year highs, and with the solar eclipse, coming up in Scorpio rules debt. You're talking about the formations of highs in key markets, while Scorpio rules debt. This could be a high associated with an eclipse in Scorpio, which rules debt. So that's something to look at as we go into next week as well. Well, let's go ahead and look at crude oil, Ray, because one of the key signatures next week is Jupiter retrograding back into Pisces. And many of our viewers and subscribers know that Jupiter in Pisces was very bullish for crude oil and energy related markets earlier this year. Obviously, we've been coming down, correcting in crude oil since June, but it looks like we're trying to stabilize a little bit here. So what are your thoughts on what's going on in the energy market right now?
Well, if you look at the chart you got here, you'll see that since Jupiter's been in Pisces, which was December 28th of last year, until the middle of May. And as you mentioned, crude oil went way up. It probably doubled or more at that point. It's been coming down now, and it's about to go and make maybe a secondary low here, maybe not a new low, but a secondary low as we get into Pisces. And it's going to be there for the next 2 months. This tells me that there's a good chance crude oil is going to rally again. And despite the fact that people are thinking the pace of interest rates may slow down, the pace of inflation isn't likely to slow down as crude oil goes up. So I don't think you're going to see an inflation decline this year, the next couple months, so to speak, because of crude oil. And because of that, I'm not so sure the Fed is going to be giving us great guidance by saying, they're going to reduce, they're going to start slowing the pace of their interest rates if, in fact, crude oil starts taking off again.
Right. Well, we had discussed previously, we had that square aspect between Mars and Neptune. That was actually last week, but, still, relatively within that orb because, Mars is basically in a stationary motion right now because we're coming into its retrograde period that begins, next week on the 30th. And Neptune's a slow moving planet. So they're still within that orb of that square aspect. And I think that crude oil is still going to be at the center of the market attention, so to speak, because as we just mentioned, Jupiter's retrograding back into Pisces, but also looking forward to next year, Saturn going into Pisces as well. I don't know that the supply side issues are going to be resolved that quickly. So, to that point, you make on inflation, we could see multiple Fed pivots in the next, few months here, where they say initially, we're going to slow the pace of rate hikes, and then, maybe crude oil spikes again. And remember, this is forward looking. The CPI data is lagging. So we might see CPI data cool off a little bit because of this energy pullback. But then in a few months, once crude oil comes back up, if it comes back up, now inflation is running hot again. So we need to be more aggressive in our tightening. So that's just a possibility there. The next chart I want to look at, Ray, is gold, because we had a really key move in the precious metals market this week. And since you are the metal man, I'm going to let you take this chart away.
Well, look at what happened today. Gold dropped to 1620 or 21. It's just a little bit below that low we had, what was that, October 1st, I think. So you got a new low in gold, new cycle low. And when you look at silver, good point you got there. You got divergence with the RSI too. But when you look at silver, it actually held our target. Our downside target was 1790 to 801. That was the lowest part of our downside target. We had a couple of targets and broke through a lot of them, but it held that 1790, 18 area. It went to 1801 last week. So if you look at that, silver hasn't made a new low. It tested the previous low, but it didn't take out the low back there in September. Gold did. Gold made its lowest price since April of 2020, right in the time band we wanted to see it, which is Saturn changing directions.
Yeah,
it's in a time band for what we call a contracted primary cycle low. You got the divergence. So this is a really, really good setup for gold, and we'll see if it fits our targets that we express in our newsletters and our weekly and daily reports. We like it right here.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I think this is an excellent segue into some currency markets. Let's start off with the Japanese yen. We had the Bank of Japan intervene again in their currency, and the Japanese yen the dollar rallied to a new multi-decade high against the Japanese yen on Friday before pulling back very sharply into the close, erasing pretty much the entire week's worth of gains. So, with all these Venus aspects being highlighted right now, we're on the cusp of Scorpio season. The sun and Venus are ingressing into Scorpio at the same time. This is all, currency related, debt related, intense periods that we're going through right now. And a potential pullback in the dollar, I think, to your point on precious metals, could be bullish for, gold and silver.
Correct. And I like this chart. You're looking on the Japanese yen, because you can see it made a new low, which means the dollar made a new high to it. It's a big move it made today. For me, I think the period around the election again, November 5th to 11th, we get the sun in Venus, and you point out the importance of Venus and the sun in Scorpio, square Uranus. You oftentimes see interest interest rate related markets make big reversals, and they can be within 2 weeks. And we're within that 2 week period now. So this could be it. We could get a double top or double bottom in some of these markets. I don't think necessarily the dollar yen. I think that may be the top.
Yeah.
But some of these other markets may get some double bottoms like the euro and that. And this could be the catalyst to drive metals higher.
Well, I don't know that we're going to have you back before the midterm elections, Ray, but how about the astrology on election day? You know, we have the lunar eclipse with a conjunction with Uranus and T-square Saturn. So talk about, you know, a system shaking day, so to speak. So any brief comments on that? We're sticking to the markets today. We don't have time to that, but I know you comment on that in your weekly column, your free weekly column, and your monthly report. So any brief comments on that you can offer?
Well, you know, Sun and Venus T-squaring the departing Saturn Uranus. It's the end of the Saturn Uranus effect. Most of it. You still got Jupiter semi-square Uranus coming up December 29th and Jupiter semi-square Saturn March 21st. But the last big one where they're in a tight orb is really this November 5th to 11th period, when you got the lunar eclipse also on eclipse day. So we wonder what's going to be the disruption. Is it upsets?
Yeah.
Is there some other form of disruption? We're going to be looking for that. We don't know exactly what it is, because with Uranus, you never know what to expect, except it's going to be dramatic, probably.
Yes, I'm sure that it will. Well, good segue into the last and certainly not least market that I want to talk about today. Bitcoin, you know, still consolidating near the lows. Time is running out on in terms of its long-term cycles that are coming due. And, you know, interestingly, Ray, you know, we were talking about the election day aspects. To me, that kind of, I think that could impact cryptocurrencies quite a bit, you know, when we come around that time, you know, especially with Uranus being in Taurus. And, you know, we know that Venus has an exceptionally high impact on cryptocurrencies per our, you know, solar lunar studies and our, you know, our studies that we conduct on Far for the Galactic Trader. But any other commentary you can offer on Bitcoin? I know we talk about this in our weekly reports. We analyze the Bitcoin ETF in our recently published ETF report. So any thoughts or comments on Bitcoin right now?
Well, I'd like to first of all give you credit, because at the end of our Merriman Market Timing Academy, MMTA courses, you shared with us your observation that Mars in aspect to Neptune does seem to be a correlate to reversals in Bitcoin. And, you know, we just had that the previous week, and that was very close to that the new low, the new multi-month low we're having, and we're going to have it again pretty soon as Mars goes retrograde. It's going to be, in fact, it's in orbit the square to Neptune all the way through the end of November. And as you know, this fits right in with the long-term cycle bottoms we're looking at. We're in those time bands between June of this year, which was a bottom, and probably March of next year. And if we break that down to 3 phases, we're in September, give or take a few months. We're in the time band. We're looking for an important bottom here in the cryptos.
Indeed. So that's a great segue into the last part of our video. That's all the time we have to look at charts today. But a couple announcements for viewers. We just came out with our 3rd publication of the monthly MMA ETF report. Subscribers to any MMA products or services did receive a free copy of the September report. So if you are a subscriber to MMA products or services, drop us a note if you didn't receive it, customer service at mmacycles.com. But you can check it out at our website at www.mmacycles.com. We just sent it out on Wednesday evening a couple days ago. Next week, we have the MMA monthly addendum report that is published by MMTA graduate Puyan Zulfargarnia. So that's going to be coming out next week. Definitely need to keep an eye on that. And last but certainly not least, we are in forecast season. So Ray, how many forecast books have you written now? What is this edition number? And tell us a little bit about that, because you did send out a free preview chapter that I know was very well received. So what's the update on forecast?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think every chapter is an exciting chapter this year. We start with the movement of the 3 outermost planets moving into new signs the next 2 years. Then we go to Saturn moving into Pisces. We update the Jupiter-Saturn cycle. I do a special section this year on the Federal Reserve Board, what's going on there, what to anticipate. I'm excited. Every chapter has been inspirational for me to write. I feel like I'm channeling, something to come in that is inspiring to me and exciting. So it's due. The book is due to the printer November 20th. We're going to be on time for that. They'll get it to the delivery house, so they say. We hope they're right, by December 15th. So everything's on schedule. It's looking real good. We have one more week to go. You have one more week to go, readers and listeners, to qualify for the special discounts on any of our subscription reports, as well as a forecast book. It is going to increase to $66 as of November 1st. So it's a good idea to order it now at $45. Save yourself $21, which is about 30% discount. And if you're interested in any of the cycles reports, daily, weekly, or monthly, this is the best time of the year to renew or sign up because you can save big bucks. So go to our website, sign up now, and we look forward to being in touch with you with this book very shortly.
Indeed, it's such a I love forecast season. This is my third forecast season writing, contributing to the book, right? Yep. So I've been doing crude oil, T-notes, corn, and soybeans, and
you've got 4 markets you're covering.
Yeah. A couple months ago, you and I did a video on that, recapping that. So for those that are still on the fence, check out our scorecard from Forecast 2022. If you have any doubts about whether you should dabble in Forecast 2023, I don't think you want to miss it. So Ray, that's all.
I should mention one more thing, Johnny, and that is that Ulrich is going to be covering the British pound this year.
Oh, good.
As well as US dollar and the euro. So I'm real happy that he has stepped up and volunteered to do the British pound, because I think that's a very, very important currency. And what's going on in Great Britain right now is affecting a lot of the different markets in the world. Maybe even affected our markets this last couple of weeks.
I'm sure. Yeah, they're all connected. So no doubt about that. But all right, Ray, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Pleasure as always. And we'll talk soon. Thank you everyone for watching. Check us out, www.mmacycles.com. See you next week.